Hello everyone, my name is Rexy, and welcome to this leg of the Pokémon Maralocke, covering the first half of Generation 5. The Maralocke has a Nuzlocke of the 32 mainline games in release order. The standard Nuzlocke rules are in play, plus no overleveling past the gym leader's ace, and the species I use in the Hall of Fame can't be used again. That means I can't reuse anything that got into the Hall of Fame from Generations 1 to 4. Check out the playlist to see where everything stands so far. Black and White did something extremely daring and made its entire regional decks completely brand new. So that gave me 68 fresh final evolutions right off the bat. This number doesn't include legendaries, and it doesn't include split evolutions this time, as there aren't any. What the game does have, though, are some late evolutions, where the quarter of them gets the chance to reach the final form at no lower than level 40. And since the final level cap is at 52, that means 4 evolution lines can't get to their final forms. Universe region that I'll pass through 4 times, but since the other half of the generation added on some more familiar faces, all I had to focus on was making sure my teams fit all the roles that I would need. Additionally, I play with a soft troops clause. If I have its Pokédex entry, I don't catch it. But that does mean catching more than one of an evolutionary line. The coverage in this video is for Pokémon Black and White. Released strangely later to the DS lifecycle, this is a very cinematic game that became more known for its ridiculous difficulty curve. Not much changed mechanics-wise, but TFs are now reusable, and the experience curve got adjusted so that you gain more of it from fighting stronger Pokémon. Great for lower-level EV training, but riskier when it comes to picking out experience points. Opponents' teams also became more tactical thanks to the loadouts, and thanks to the new season cycle, playing the game during the winter months can be a completely different experience. However, both of these adventures happened during the summer, when my good neighbour, Professor Juniper, gave me a very belated birthday gift. I was instructed to share these starters with my friends Charon and Bianca, but they still insisted that I choose first. So Black and White started off with Princess Snivy and Knuckles the Tepig. The two amigos battled me there and then, only to turn my bedroom into early 40s London. And talking of forgotten birthday gifts, Mother also remembered the Apple Watch knockoff she forgot to give me. What's happened to the obligatory running shoes? The 3 of us went to thank the professor inside her lab, where she also gave us this Pokédex thing, taught us how to catch Pokémon on nearby Route 1, then gave me some balls to begin her research. Meh. I just wanted enough new friends to hang out with at an afternoon tea party. So on Route 1, Black met a Lillipup named Columbo. This line could also serve as a pickup mule, but he ended up with Vital Spirit, which turns into the ever-so-useful Intimidate on evolution. Meanwhile, White took on Ray the Unflying Patrat. At Akamala Town, the professor told me about free Pokémon healthcare, only for me to run into a demonstration back outside from some strange offshoot of Peter that refer to themselves as Team Plasma. This N person in the crowd also doesn't like small animals being cramped in even smaller capsules, but he begrudgingly battled me to see the friends I made so far. For the record, N is the 3rd rival you will see for us and will use a completely different team every time. He, Charon and Bianca would battle for a combined 17 times in a single playthrough, so it's best to gloss over most of those fights. Along Route 2, Mom finally found the running shoes I wanted for my birthday and gave them to me in person. I was thankful that I can dash, but packing a bottle of water for the return trip is her responsibility, not mine. Columbo's Vital Spirit ability meant a higher chance of beating higher level Pokémon, including the level 7 Patrat that Black met and named Nick. White took on Big the Purloin, which is objectively the worst thing he can get before the first badge. Plus I now have the burden of finding Froggy. The squads took some time to level up a bit before fighting the first trainer, needing to be in tip-top shape for the road ahead. Before fighting the first trainer! So I guess White was a member down when fighting Bianca outside Striaton City, but Big and Knuckles still showed their worth as a duo. To the east of Striaton was the Dreamyard, where this girl gave away an elemental monkey with his type weak against my starter. So Black took on Moni the Panpour, while White met Jet the Pansage. Sure, Black still relied on Columbo, but White's new grass type was a valuable asset when fighting Sharon inside the trainer school. The first gym badge is also here, run by joint leaders Chili, Cress, and Sillin. But the one who fights for the badge has an elemental monkey with his type strong against my starter. For Black, that meant taking on the redhead that was Chili. Lillipup setting up with Workup posed a problem, but Pritz was able to outspeed and get some work done with Vine Whip. One bite, however, landed a crit and got him into the range where another attack would surely kill, so I then switched to Nick for Tackle Spam to finish it off. For the Panseer, Money stepped out, tagged an Incinerate, then ran a crit Orco Water Gun like a mad lad. White's opponent, Cress, felt a little more blue. Big spam scratch and tank some bites, with some powered up for workup, and forced him to use a potion. After ending up in crit range, I swapped in Knuckles to finish the job with 2 Embers. Then came the Panpour, which once again tried for a workup setup, but Jet handily took it down with 2 Vine Whips before it could do anything. My schedule kept adding up as I got some Dream Mist for some Professor Fennel lady and his social experiments. Sharon wanted a rematch on Route 3, and some Team Plasma Grunt stole a girl's Pokemon. Is the Unova region meant to be this bustling? Here in the grass, Black took on Peso the Pidove and White met Sonic the Blitzel. Then after finding the thieves in Wellspring Cave and taking back what they stole, Black and White met the rock and roller duo Ace and Tikal. The squads reached the Queen City at the end of Route 3, where Sharon advised me to potentially find a fighting type if I didn't already have one. Black took up on his offer and went to Pinwheel Forest, running into this human-shaped overglove thing called a Soak. Oh great, we're dealing with Onyx levels of catch rate again! I had to play extremely defensive, so I relied on Prince to get some work done and— what? Prince had the highest defense stats the entire squad, and he fell to a single double kick pair? And to make matters worse, it set up with focus energy the following turn! So instead, I had to direct some expendable fights in case it hit a crit. Thankfully, Marnie survived long enough to paralyze with Lick, and that allowed us to capture Jungle. We ain't happy with this Muppets killing our starter, but at least that's an answer for Sharon's little pop quiz. White had a much easier time and took on Wave the Pidove, who got taken out a few battles later because I didn't remember which level Timber can learn Rock Throw. I guess it's a team of 5 for the second gym. This game really wasn't being kind this early on, so after some extra time training, Columbo became an Intimidate-wielding Herdier for Black, and Knuckles reached his next form as a Pig Knight for White, gaining a secondary fighting type in the process. Thank you, Game Freak, for putting in Blaziken 3.0. We were so impatient to fight that we simply brushed away N outside the Necrane Museum and kept a poker face on when touring the entrance room. Oh look, what a funny looking pebble! I also remembered that the curator's wife Lenora has some funny tricks up her sleeve, so Black quickly took the time to turn Nick into a Watchhog and White evolved Big into a Liepard. Only then were we ready to fight against her normal types. In Black, Columbo and her own Herdier intimidated each other, but he missed takedown twice and tanked one back in return. So I then had to bring in Nick, who fared better in the thick of it and dodged a takedown on Switch. The first crunch brought in a defense drop, making the second one a kill. A 140 base power retaliate from her Watchhog sounded scary, but Jungle straight up outspared with a crito called Double Kick. As for White, Knuckles straight up pummels the Herdier with Arm Thrust despite the Intimidate attack drop. Then came Watchhog, and I brought out Tikal thanks to Sturdy. But instead of attacking, it tried for layer defense drops and Hypnosis for sleep. And in the midst of all that chaos, she sent out 2 Rock Blast chains to roll it away. Not so long after the fight, some Team Plasma Grunt stole a Dragonite skull and I teamed up with some wandering bird guy to get it back. At least that's more combat experience for Peso, who became a Tranquil during these shenanigans. As a reward for reclaiming the artifact, Lenora gave me a Moonstone, a necessary item to evolve Luna. If I had one, the gangs were free to cross the bridge to Castelia City. On one of the piers, there was a scientist that gave away an elemental stone that corresponded to the monkey picked up in the dream yard. However, Marnie and Jet still had a lot to learn via level up, so they got beefed up with an Eviolite, a reward for seeing 25 different types of Pokemon. Route 4 was blocked off, but the Deep Sands meant meeting another new friend. Black took on Honey the Darumaka, which would be amazing for late game thanks to Sheer Force. Right now though, Hustle is extremely unreliable, so she stayed in the box. White went out to meet Styx the Sandile, an Intimidate user of their own. After another battle of wits with Team Plasma and recovering Bianca's stolen Muna, I was able to go and challenge Berg's Bug-type Gym. In Black, Ace handled the Whirlipede with a Smackdown 2 KO, and of course Struggle Bug merely did chip damage. Then he sent out Leavanny next, which I had Peso out raring to go. In every turn it didn't decide to use Protect, it opted for Razor Leaf, of which Peso was able to dodge one. Gust was a 2-shot. Finally, Marnie continued the trend of a crit knockout finale, with Scald on his Dwebble this time. For White, Knuckles' Flame Charge wasn't enough to all-core the opening Whirlipede. In fact, Berg wasted 2 Hyper Potions on it, and that meant 4 speed boosts from using that move. So I kept him out against the Dwebble, which used a sand attack and caused a second turn miss. I sent it to Cal, who held back a Smackdown and some uses of Struggle Bug, while also laying a Smackdown of her own. Then there was the Leavanny. Knuckles tanked a crit Razor Leaf, however, that put his health in Blaze range, meaning that whole leaf bug thingy got met with an easy flame charge Oko. On the way out to the town, Bianca and Sharon wanted another rematch. Zanna was set to brave through the sandstorms around Route 4. Off the beaten path was the Desert Resort, home of the Relic Castle, where I met a stranger that wanted me to take a fossil away. So the teams respectively grabbed the plume and cover fossils. Nimbasa City was the next destination, where the group tussled more with Team Plasma, and I learned that N is their king. Once again, he put his beliefs on the line, but even his dreaded Sigilyph meant nothing to the triple C that was Columbo's crunching canines. And not long after the fight's aftermath, Ace and Tikal had evolved into a Bulldor by then. To the east of the city, Black took on Daisy the Graffito in Route 16, and White met Gamma the Trubbish at the same place. At the Slosslorn Forest, the squads met the Swadloon duo Miso and Xena. I tried to get something to the west of the city, but Bianca wanted me to do some Pokemon musical thing. I politely declined, but I at least made the tiny monkeys look as dapper as possible. Back outside, this Elisa lady showed up and encouraged Bianca to follow her own path. She also just so happened to be this city's gym leader, so I had to be prepared for her electric-type army. White was more than ready thanks to Styx, but Black needed some more resistance. After meeting the Minccino pair Druby and Rouge on Route 5, Black had to make a decision on the loadouts, and felt the best answer in the box was to replace Nick with Miso, who at least can resist electric-type moves. So after cycling all over the dang place to bring up artificial friendship, Miso then felt happy enough to evolve into a Leah Bunny for the team, and via level up, Sonic reached his next form as a Zeb Striker for White. Even with theory crafting, Black's performance against Elisa was shocking. She opened with one Emolga, and I led with Ace. That Flying Rodent went first with Volt Switch into the second Emolga, which ended up with a no-call smackdown. He tried to do the same to the other Emolga, but another Volt Switch meant directing it to the Zip Striker instead. I switched to Columbo in fear of a Volt Switch crit, but he got paralyzed from Spark. And even with the black glasses on, Crunch couldn't finish off its health. I tried bringing in Jungle, but it used Full Switch to bring in the remaining Emolga, which he can't fight. I played a risk, pivoted into new recruit Miso, and let her survive a quad aerial ace at 5 HP. Then I went back into Ace to tank a quick attack, used my first super potion, and let him tank another Volt Switch. Another Volt Switch from the Sub-Striker meant another Smackdown Orco on the other Emolga. Finally, that left Sub-Striker. So again, I brought in Columbo for an intimidated attack drop, then healed him with another super potion to get him out of crit range. I did this twice, which was when he finally broke through the paralysis and landed the crunch needed to survive the fight. Way to play dirty there, game! Not giving me access to a ground site prior to this fight. In White, Sonic started well with a Spark on the first Emolga, but then Elisa withdrew it for her own Zeb Striker, which absorbed Spark thanks to Lightning Rod. He then went for it with a Flame Charge, but then ended up in crit range not long after taking another Flame Charge back. I brought in Styx, who brought in an Intimidate attack drop. While it kept ramming back with Flame Charge, she caught it inside a sand tomb and pulled it under in the space of 2 turns. That left Sonic free to spam Spark on the Emolga pair, which could only do chip damage with Pursuit. Also, I just want to say that Zeb Striker has such a rounded butt. Who is Game Freak approved of this? Back on Route 5, Sharon hastily faults me again. This older person used children to get us to stop being tryhards, and Elisa used her feminine charm to bring down the Driftvale drawbridge. And while crossing over, the squads encountered the Ducklet duo, Odiko and Marine, as the other side was Driftvale City, where the local gym leader Clay gave us a rude welcome and blamed Elisa for sending some Team Plasma grunts on the loose. And you won't even let us challenge the gym without catching them again. Why are we being punished for this? Well, the gang found them south of town at the cold storage units, with more tricky sliding puzzles leading us to a container at the back. So they got brought back into custody, only for their leader Getsis to arrive and use his own charms to get them to escape. At the very least, Clay took responsibility this time. Before fighting the gym, the squad aimed for an encounter on Route 6, and Black got theirs right away with Kurol the Carrot Blast. But it would be a while before his counterpart could get caught, so he hung out in a box. White went on to catch SBO the Dealing, but talking of which, the squad faced problems with the scientist's own little phone in a trainer battle. Big tried to turn one fake out, but it used an X attack to pump up its physical offense, which I once again didn't notice thanks to Speed Up. And the takedown powered up by such a performance enhancer was how Big died. I guess we'll find Froggy without him. If there was any silver lining, Styx had evolved into a Crocorock and was ready to do her part in the fight ahead. And to fill the empty spot, Rouge joined the party here and soon evolved into a Cinccino with a shiny stone. Clay's ground types are known to be infamous thanks to the squad's wide dual type coverage and secondary effects on their movesets. Despite this, Black faced a string of Volcos. Measles Razor Leaf dispatched the Crocorock and Palpitoad, and Jungle revised an old trend and landed an expert belt boosted crit karate chop on the Excadrill. No damage! In White, Knuckles landed a 2-hit arm thrust on the Crocorock with the first impact being a crit. Jake took with Seed Bomb, as expected. Then came Excadrill, which immediately got an Intimidate attack drop thanks to Styx. Her dig only had enough power to just bring it below half health, and Bulldoze gave her a speed drop. It's then outsped with Rock Slide, which landed a crit but also didn't flinch. One more dig finished the job. After fighting Bianca in town again, she gave me a copy of the Fly HM. With Peso and Marine as the respective aviators, the gangs threw Black to the Queen City and revived the fossils, respectively getting Opio the Archon and Storm the Tortuga. White returned to Driftvale right away, but Black continued back to Route 3 and checked out the daycare. Once again, the two carers here look after two Pokemon in the background while I keep progressing on my journey, and I had used some great endgame fighters that mostly leveled up that way. So Black deposited Opio and Honey, then moved to the next destination. Equipped with a year's supply of Moo Moo milk, the gangs went to Chargestone Cave. These lengthy caverns had some grueling fights deep inside, including another encounter with N and a fresh team consisting of the local critters. By that point, Peso and Columbo reached their final forms as Unprecedented Stoutland, so Black didn't face many issues at all. Outside the cave was Mistletoe City. The group bumped into Professor Juniper's dad, and he was pleased to know that I'd met a nice number of Pokemon. The local gym leader Skylar didn't feel like fighting just yet, having spotted a sick Pokemon on top of the Celestial Tower at Route 7. So the gangs made their way there, only for Rouge to not anticipate the amount of damage that a Solosis could deal with Future Sight. And from that trainer battle, we went and lost a little jewel thief. Well, yikes. At that point, Marine became a full-time fighter and evolved into a Swanna very quickly. By the time the squads got on top of the tower, Skylar had already healed the injured Pokemon. What was the point of the climb? At least she got me to play around with the bell for a bit. Only then was Skylar ready to let me challenge her at the Mistletoe Gym. Once again, White had a depth of answers for her team, but Black was still missing something that could wield electric-type moves. I needed something bulky enough that could use Charge Beam, which is a great answer for her own Swanna. The solution Black decided on was to bring Daisy onto the team, therefore putting Columbo on the bench. She got trained up and evolved into a Gothorita, then learned the move via TM. Only then were the squads ready to fly high for the badge. Daisy went up first against Swoobat. She tanked 2 uses of Assurance while spamming Charge Beam on it. Ace went next against the Unpheasant, holding back against an Ear Slash while also hitting back with Smackdown. And then came the Swanna. It could have easily tried to kill Daisy, but nope. It set up an Aqua Ring, and she kept the trend alive with landing a Magnet-boosted critical hit Charge Beam Oko on it. White had an absolutely flawless run. Styx took out the Swoobat with Crunch, and Sonic ran a Spark through the Swanna. Tikal's Rock Slide couldn't quite Oko the Unpheasant, prompting a Hyper Potion heal on their end, but the second attempt high-rolled and took it down from full health. After another kerfuffle with Charon, I got access inside Twist Mountain. A lengthy climb packing trainers with sturdy Boldor and the ridiculous move diversity from Girder. That meant aiming for more defensive tactics for anyone that happened to wield either of them. It was also here that White ran into Silver the Cubchoo, which could be an interesting answer to some late-game threats. And Knuckles reached his final form as an Embor here too. At the other side was Icarus City, which had a load of marshes to get encounters in, providing the place isn't freezing cold. Black managed to catch Narinai the Shellgun inside the water, meaning Kuro was then ready to join the squad. By using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer and having her in the party while he leveled up, Kuro evolved into an Escavalier and gained a valuable secondary Steel type, putting Ace on the bench. It was then time to thaw out Bryson's Icy Wall. Kuro went first against this Vanillish. Its Acid Armor setup meant Ironhead would never high-roll an Oko, so Bryson wasted all of his potion stock early. After dodging a Frost Breath, he went on to use Ironhead one more time. Next was Beartick, and it immediately hit Kuro with a Swagger. I kept him in to try again, and he dodged an Icicle Crash, as well as landing the Ironhead one-shot that we needed. I brought in Jungle for the Cryogonal, and after holding back an Aurora Beam, he went on to break the living daylights out of it. And then there's White. Knuckles dispatched the Vanillish right away with a 3-link arm thrust. Tikal held on against the Beartick's Brine, then retaliated with a single Rock Slide. And Cryogonal's Aurora Beam merely did chip damage to Knuckles before he went in with a Heat Crash Oko. After leaving the gym, the squad sensed a Team Plasma presence at Dragon Spiral Tower and climbed up to see what the fuss was about. Along the way, Black met Q in the Golurk, and White Soul Sticks reached her final form as a Crocodile. The squads reached in at the top of the building, having revived Zekrom in black and Reshiram in white, planning to cheat his way past the Pokemon League with that thing. Dude, that's an adult play with legendaries! Don't you dare force that on me! But since he forced my hand, I followed Alder's advice and went back to the Relic Castle, where more Team Plasma Guns awaited in the depths. And it it was while fighting a lot of them that Daisy reached her final form as a Gothitelle. However, when we reached Ghetsis at the lowest floor, I learned that the other dragon wasn't here at all, putting me back to square one. But the professor rang as soon as I got phone reception again, having learned that the artifact was the pebble at the Decree Museum, a stone containing the sleeping form of Reshiram for black and Zekrom for white. Yet no one had the foggiest on how to revive it, aside from some dragon experts at Ruleset City. On the way there, Bianca challenged me to a fight, her final one in the storyline, and the rain also meant that her Samurai's water-type moves got buffed for black. Nevertheless, she still meant nothing to the squad. Jungle had no problem with the Stoutland, a karate chop 2-shot while it merely tried a workup setup. Kuro went for an Oko X's on Mushana, which tried a lucky chance setup to no avail. Our tiny monkey Marnie took advantage of the rain and handled the Simiseer with a single surf, and Miso sliced through the Samurai's with a leaf blade. Yeah, in terms of battles, she should stop trying. In white, Knuckles opened with 3 Anthus chains on the Stoutland while it hits back with Retaliate for no reason. Our tiny monkey Jet couldn't quite take out the Simipour with a single Seed Bomb on the first go, so after a full restore heal, he got the high roll and dispatched it there and then went Superior, which started setting up with Coil for boosted attack, defense, and accuracy. And we had no way to dispatch it before it became a proper menace. Despite the rain, I let Knuckles do as much damage as possible with Heat Crash, while Bianca used the buffed up stats to attack with Slam and eventually Leaf Blade. We both used healing items during the fight, but it did eventually stack up with Coil for a 4th time, meaning I could rely on Knuckles to keep fighting like this. I needed a clean switch into another potent fighter, so I brought it to Cal, and she was already weakened from a prior battle, meaning Sturdy was inactive, and so the incoming Leaf Blade claimed her life. Sonic went in and used Flame Charge, but it wasn't as good as Knuckles' Heat Crash, and he could have died from a Slam crit. But luckily, Coil didn't beef up its special defense, so one discharge finally took out that pesky snake. Finally, there was Mushana, which Styx chomped away with Crunch. With Tikal turned into a pile of lifeless rubble, White opted to fill the empty void with silver and evolved them into a Beartick. The squads reached Ruleset City and witnessed another Team Plasma demonstration, as well as getting a 4-1-1 from joint leaders Drayden and Iris about how Zekrom and Reshiram were once the same Pokemon. But those two also didn't have any idea on how to wake up the dragon inside my stupid pebble, so that makes them equally useless. They still awaited me for the final badge, with Drayden on standby in black and Iris in white. And prior to the battle, Marnie and Jet finally learned Crunch via level up, so it was now time to evolve both of them respectively into a Simipour and Simisage. I could have just told Shadowclaw to buff them via TM, but I wasn't thinking of that at the time. Drayden and Iris had the same dragon loadout, but aside from the opening fracture, only their abilities are different. Black led with Drungle against Drayden's team. I wanted it to Twitch Q with Brick Break, but I completely forgot about Dragon Dance, so I quickly brought in Miso to turn rivalry on its head. But it just continued to use Dragon Dance, while she went to take it down with an X-Scissor. Kuro held back a Night Slash on the Drudigan and went for a beautiful crit Oko X-Scissor on it, albeit taking damage from Rough Skin. His Hexorus tried a Dragon Dance setup and got a crit slash on Kuro, but he still hits back with an X-Scissor 2-shot for the W. In white, Fracture and Hexorus just wanted to set up with Dragon Dance, though Silver handled the former with an Oko Icicle Crash, then went through all her Hyper Potion stock for the latter before going in for an Icicle Crash 2-shot. Marine tagged to avenge a Night Slash from the Sheer Force Drudigan while using 3 Air Slashes to blow it away. As a reward for beating every gym in the region, Professor Juniper gave me a Master Ball for good luck. And having seen how cool those dragons were in the gym, White pushed to get an Axio of their own at Mistleton Cave. Load up Dragon Dance on that thing and it'll be unstoppable for endgame. But the squad ran into Tangled the Woobat. Meh, that thing got put in the box. Luckily, Fortune smiled back down upon me when I fought against Charon for the final time on Route 10. Marnie stupidly opened against his unfeathered black, so Daisy quickly swapped in while it used Taunt. But I planned to attack with Charge Beam anyway, so it wasn't worth the effort. It had also charged up a Razor Wind, which Kuro attacked to the following turn, also got hit with a Taunt, then finished it with an Iron Head. Marnie's Surf wasn't enough to wash out the Embor, and a takedown crit would have also killed him, but he survived, and the second one submerged it. Following that was an Exorcism Oko from Miso Peso on the Simisage, and a Brick Break Orko from Jungle and the Liepard, only taking a slash from it. For White, Sonic ran a Spark 2 shot to the Unpheasant while it failed to charge up a Razor Wind. Jet Seed Bomb hit a straight Orko on the Samurott. Styx also went straight in for a dig on Simisear, and Liepard tried to taunt Knuckles' new slash, but it didn't anticipate two Amethyst chains bringing it to the floor. Only then were the squads ready to make their way through the ridiculous mountain pass that was Victory Road, packed full of well-seasoned trainers. It should be noted that when going through this area in White, I was hanging out with Abdul the Arabic guy, who did a live stream series ranking every single piece of music from the entire Crash Bandicoot franchise.
Or not, I've been vibing to these musics while also playing Pokemon White in the background, and for some reason, this is the perfect music for Victory Road. What the hell?
What I didn't realise until going further in was that these veteran trainers also added some move diversity, like this one having a Behemoth that's new Thunderbolt. Black was able to not endure a crit, thankfully, but the heat more did become a problem. I hoped to get an air/2 shot from Peso, but he missed and got killed from his second flamethrower. I wasn't planning to champ Unpheasant at all, but that was a very dumb way to go. And want to know what's even dumber? I forgot that the same Behemoth had Thunderbolt in White, and that was how our Bird Marine went down. Jeez, I'm running out of fly mules! The gangs regrouped back at Ruleset and built Kyun and Tangle out of the box. Since the latter was the only other thing that can learn Fly, that stuck around only for HM purposes. Meanwhile, Kyun evolved all the way to a Golurk and remained on standby for any threats that got in the way. Finally, the groups reached the Pokémon League at the summit, but in the rare instance for this game, the Elite Four is not the last stretch, so the squads didn't have to do too many changes as long as they had answers for everyone. The Universe region is also 1 in 3 where you can choose the order to fight them, meaning I picked a chamber and challenged it as soon as I figured out a way through in theory. However, White ended up with issues against Marshall's fighting types, with the only Psychic and Flying type being the only Fly Mule we had left, so we needed a defensive option, and that answer happened to be Gamma the Trubbish. His moveset isn't brilliant, but I couldn't see another way through with what I had. Thus, he got trained up, evolved into a Garbodor, and was ready to do his role for White. For obvious reasons, Marshall was the first member that White fought, but was Black's second. Black opened with Daisy against his throw. Oddly enough, Psychic couldn't Orko it, which meant putting him in an early potion waste loop. She took damage in a speed drop from Bulldoze, but thankfully she also dodged a Stone Edge and finished it off. For me and Xiao, I brought in Kyun as the most resistant of the lot, but he went and took on 5 Rock Slide flinches throughout, meaning what was otherwise a Fly and Shadow Ball combo kill became more complicated. Daisy was backing against the Soak and tanked a pair of Stone Edge attacks on the way to his knockouts, ending up in red HP. So I had to bring Kuro back in for the Conkeldurr. He brought some good damage in with Iron Head, but a nasty Hammer Arm brought him in range of the crit. Anticipating another, I brought in Miso, tanked another Hammer Arm, then let her finish it off with a Leaf Blade. White opted for Jet against Throw, and Acrobatics took it out in 2 turns as he merely tanked a single Bulldoze. Then came Mian Xiao, and Gamma held back its Jump Kick and Rock Slide attacks, while also dealing out 2 Sludge Bombs with one of them poison in it. Soak's special defenses meant Sludge Bomb couldn't 2H KO it even with the Poison Barb boost, so once again I stalled it out of Hyper Push and heals and Stone Edge PP by healing with Moo Moo Milk, then was more ready to keep chipping away at it. Then by the time Conkeldurr got out, Sludge Bomb had 1 PP remaining. That one poisoned it, and we're thankful that it had sheer force instead of guts. But its own Stone Edge had brought his health down, and at that point I decided that Gamma had done his job. So its last move in battle was a Clear Smog, and then he was killed by another Stone Edge. With Marshall's back against the wall, Sonic had one last job to finish it off with a Stomp. White couldn't have done this fight without Gamma, then free to fly like a flicky. Black's opening fight and White's second was against Grimsley's Dark types. Kuro was the most resistant to Scrafty's attacks, so he opened for Black. X-Sister would have been a normal 3H KO, but thanks to me equipping the Rocky Helmet and the opponent going for Brick Brick in return like an idiot, it became a 2-shot, or still 3 thanks to Sand Attack. After that, the rest of his team went down to a single move each. Monty took down the Crocodile with Surf, and Jungle pushed down the Bishop with a Brick Break. Liepard got off a Fake Out and then the tracks on him, but he still broke through the infatuation with 1 Brick Break. In White, Knuckles linked a 2 and 3 hit Arm Thrust combo on the Scrafty, albeit with a miss thanks to Sand Attack along the way, and tagging a Brick Break. Jet stepped up against the Crocodile and got an Intimidate attack drop, but he still went to give it a crit Orko with Grass Knot. Knuckles went back out against the Bishop and set a Flamethrower that couldn't quite KO, meaning he had to tank an Aerial Ace that left him into Blaze range, so no mercy on the next turn. And finally, Liepard. Because it had attract, I sent out Styx to render it useless. She merely tanks an Aerial Ace on the way to a Dig 2-shot. Similarly, fights 3 and 4 were reversed for both teams, so Black faced Caitlyn's Psychic team third in line while she was White's last opponent. Kuro went first against the Uniclus in Black. He held back against a Focus Blast, then straight up sliced it with an X-Scissor. He didn't stay in long against the Coffee Tail because Thunderbolt paralyzed and he didn't move immediately after. Anticipating another Thunderbolt, I went into Miso. She held back against the move, and we're thankful it merely attempted a Calm Mind setup because X-Scissor was a 2-shot. Sigalith also sounded problematic, so I brought in Mani because there's no move he's super effective against. He held back against Psychic, and Crunch was also a 2-hit KO. Finally, Musharna. I brought Miso in, and again it didn't bother to attack and set up with Reflect. 2 X-Scissor attacks it is! In White, Sonic led against Uniclus with a Wild Charge, but Psychic went and put his health in the red. So anticipating another Psychic, I switched into Sticks to block it off, then took down the rest of his health with Crunch. Fearing Ice Beam from Sigalith, I tagged in Silver and he took it down with an Oko Icicle Crash. That left Sticks free to ram Crunch attacks for the Musharna and Guff its hell. Neither of them were one-shots and Caitlyn wasted a Hyper Potion stock on the latter, but she still got the job done. Last but not least was the Bookworm that was Chantal and her party of ghost types. In a strange storytelling twist, I shall bring up White's fight first. Silver took out the Cofagrigus with 2 uses of Icicle Crash while tanking a Shadow Ball in return. Sticks on an Orco Crunch to the Chandelure, but Flame Body burned her! Jet also landed an Orco Seed Bomb on the Ruleset, but Curse Body disabled the move! I still kept him out for Golurk, and thanks to the power of the Miracle Seed, Grass Knot also landed a 1-shot. As for Black, Crew went up against the Cofagrigus, resisting all of its attacking moves. Ironhead forced her to waste her potion stock, but a Will-O-Wisp landing forced a switch out on my part to Daisy. She tanked a Shadow Ball like a boss, then sent a Shadow Ball back to spirit it away. Mani stepped up against the Chandelure. Surf was quite a 1-shot, and he held back against the Shadow Ball, so that's still enough for 2 Raging Waves. And then our MVP Miso went through her last fight like a pro. Leaf Blade Oracles on both the Ruleset and Golurk. Yeah, that was Black's decision. Miso had been on the team since the events in Mombasa City and had been extremely valuable for some key mid-game fights, while also providing the power for Grass-type starter without even being a Grass-type starter. Endgame would have been too rough on her either way, plus we needed her kind more in later legs. Talking of Endgame, I bumped into N and saw him use the powers of a champion to bring a giant castle out from the floor, setting the stage for the grand finale. And even got access back to the league entrance, meaning I was ready to do some last-minute changes to the roster. In Black, Kieran joined Miso on the bench, while Opio and Honey left the daycare. After some more training, they evolved respectively into an Archeops and a Darmanitan, and Honey was ready to show the world the meaning of sheer force. White buried Gamma and filled the empty void with Storm, who trained up and became a Caracosta. And thanks to how I gained more experience points than EVs throughout the run, the gangs opted to train their way to get the last bits they needed. Getting attack EVs was straightforward, as though on every encounter back at Route 1, while the mask inside the Relic Castle gave us defense EVs for when it mattered most. So the lesson I learned here in Universe is to sell any rare candies that I don't use. Money was way more sparse, and since a lot of it was used to buy healing items, I had to really learn how to budget. But after maxing out everyone's EVs and ensuring everyone's levels were on par with N Zekrom or Reshiram, the squads were ready for the final battles that followed the Elite Four. After catching up with N, he brought out his legendary dragon for the fight of a lifetime, while the dragon inside my stupid pebble finally woke up in time for the conflict. Those things still wanted to know my name, so they got caught in the Master Ball and sent to the box. Listen here then, why fight with legendaries when you can use another glove and a bathrobe and the greatest ever Pokemon butt? Nevertheless, he didn't hear my plea, so he went on to cheat his way with a legendary like a complete coward. Black opened with Kuro against Zekrom. Of course, because of how slow he is, he took a Fusion Bolt first and got all chip damage in with X-Scissor. Worried about a kill, I quickly healed with one of my Moo Milk, but Zekrom set up a light screen, so that left room for me to continue X-Scissor into a 3 HKO. However, Kuro was down to a not so cool 10 HP after knocking it out. He brought out Klinkline next, which I brought out Jungle for, and he took it out with an Oko Brick Break. Wait a minute, that's his Nuzlocke we just knocked out! Klinklang came out for real, and Jungle ran an Oko Brick Break through that and his Vanillux. So next up was the Archeops, another one I felt nervous about because of its high speed stat. I brought Kuro back in, healed him up with a Hyper Potion, then let him hold back against one Stone Edge and then miss on another before taking it out with an Iron Head. And finally, Caracosta, and the combination of Stone Edge and Sturdy felt like a stomach wrecker. I kept Kuro in, got to hit him with Iron Head, but also ran to a risk of a Stone Edge crit. So with some of my leftover bottles of fresh water from the gym visits, I heal stalled until it ran out of Stone Edge PP. Waterfall brought it straight into the Rocky Helmet, and Iron Head became a 2 HKO. I was so on edge! In white, Styx opened with a 2-hit kill on Reshiram, using a Dragon Claw and Dig while also holding back a fusion player. Vanilluxe was up next, but Brick from Knuckles wasn't enough to kill, so it's set up with Hail. And used a full restore, then 2 flamethrowers finished the job. His Caracosta Sturdy remained an issue, but the combination of Jet Seed Bomb and Hail Chip took it out in 1 turn. Then it was Cling Clang. I brought out Knuckles for a Brick Orko, and just like in Black, he had disguised his Zoroark as that particular teammate. The Cling Clang got out for real, but instead, Knuckles took advantage of its frail special defense and took it out with a flamethrower. And finally, Archeops. The team's newest recruit Storm went through an Aqua Jet and immediately brought it into defeater's range, meaning a straightforward Stone Edge survival and a 2-hit KO for us. But it still wasn't over. Guesses revealed in front of all of us that the whole liberating Pokemon thing was a ruse so that only he can control them, and he went at me in an attempt to delete the evidence. Look, if it didn't work out for Rupert Murdoch, then it wouldn't work for you either. Crow once again led the charge. I didn't mind Mummy from the Cofagrigus overwriting Swarm, as long as he still got some good damage in with Ironhead. He held back a couple of Shadow Ball attacks, then set up with Sword Stance on a healing turn, and accidentally used it again on the way to his eventual KO. Then came his illegal level 54 Hydreigon. I brought in Daisy as our biggest special tank, and she held back a crit Dragon Pulse at 5 HP. She paralyzed it with Thunder Wave and then brought Jungle into position, but Brick wasn't enough, and the Combine's non-crit Fire Blast and Dragon Pulse left him at 4 HP! Yikes! So I used a Hyper Potion, the Hydreigon was fully paralyzed, and one more Brick finished it! Kuro went out again for the Buffalance. I used a Hyper Potion to heal him first before going into an X-Scissor, which led Buffalance to run to him with a Wild Charge like an idiot, getting recoil on top of Rocky Helmet damage. Next up was Honey against the Electros, having no weakness to its moves. She takes a Wild Charge, while 2 Fire Punches turned it into cinders. Seismitoad was next, but let me remind you, Daisy was still on red HP, so she had a Hyper Potion heal and tanked a Sludge Wave. It had a chance to take her out with a move like Earthquake, but it instead opted to set up with Rain Dance, and that left her free to kill with Grass Knot. Finally, Bisharp, Jungle, Brick, Oko. In white, Styx went first against the Cofagrigus and took it down with a 2-hit KO crunch, dodging Toxic in the process. Then came Hydreigon, which Sonic stepped out for Thunder Wave and held onto a Dragon Pulse in the aftermath. I then switched to Silver, hoping he would be able to deliver a knockout blow on that thing, but the Surf on the switch was a crit, he missed Icicle Crash, and then he fell to a Dragon Pulse. I guess he'll be forever dreaming of an absolution. I then went into Knuckles, who also survived a Surf while pushing through with Brick. Yet it wasn't enough to kill, and Guesses used a full restore, removing the paralysis. So I unfortunately had to do another sacrifice to get a clean switch into Styx, who can outspeed, and that burden fell on Sonic, making like his namesake and getting drowned from Surf. From here, Styx jumped in and finished the Hydreigon off with a Dragon Claw. Jet was a good boy, taking out the Seismitoad with a crit Grass Knot. Styx stepped out for the Electros, ran for it with 3 crunches while tanking Acrobatics, and reached level 54 where she learned her ultimate move, Earthquake. Knuckles rammed into the Bisharp with an Oko Brick. And then there was this last mon, Buffalance. Knuckles used Brick again, but unfortunately that wasn't enough to take it down fully, and he became the squad's last casualty, falling to an Earthquake. Oh no. Styx stepped out onto the battlefield one more time. She showed that pesky Buffalo what it was like to fall to an Earthquake, securing victory. And just like that, Nuzlocks were completed in black and white. It was here that everyone needed to play a role, both in the Elite Four and the Team Plasma finale. Well, almost everyone. And while there had been many deaths along the way, mostly for whites, I felt I still did my best with the encounters that I got, even with the difficulty jump accounted for. I can't rest here because there's still the other half of my visit here in Unova. I'll catch you next time when I go through Black 2 and White 2, so subscribe to see the next video as it goes live. For now, Rexy out. Thanks for watching, and always remember where you store your birthday presents for your loved ones.